Hey, BecomingMe.TV, Emily Cummins here. We're in this series called Questions everyone is asking, but no one wants to answer. Now, something that we say at BecomingMe.TV a lot is that in order to become who God made you to be, you must first love yourself. Today, we're going to dive into this question. Is it possible? How can I love myself when I don't even know if I like myself? Friends, grab your coffee and join us as Haley unpacks this question with us.
Hey guys, my name is Haley Hampton. I'm so excited to be joining in on this series for Becoming Me. Questions we're all asking, but nobody wants to answer. I'm really excited and grateful to Emily for inviting me to be a part of this series. I'm really proud of what she's doing through Becoming Me TV, and to play even a small part of it is incredibly wonderful, and I'm super thankful to her. So, the question that Emily has asked me to tackle is, how can I love myself if I'm not even sure if I like myself? And I love this question for so many reasons. I have a true connection to it in my own life and in the lives of people that I feel like I walk with daily, especially women. So I'm really passionate about speaking to and pouring into the hearts of other women about things that I too struggle with and walk in daily. So I'm really excited to dive into this a little bit more. It's interesting because this very topic sort of came up in a Bible study that I'm in right now. I'm in a 6-week study with a group of incredible women who are in my industry for work. And there were a couple of things that we touched on this week that are so relevant and fit so beautifully into this topic. I specifically want to talk about an exercise that we did that I want to encourage you guys to do towards the end. So, the first thing that I kind of want to talk about in the first point that I think about in my own life when I think about the difference between liking and loving myself, which, I mean, they're two different things. I think we have to do one to get to the other, right? So, is casting out comparison. And so that was one of the first notes that I made when I started looking at doing this topic and started praying about it. I think that comparison is definitely one of the main things that robs us as women for carrying out and walking in the full potential that God has kind of set in front of us and within us and before us, because we live in such a day and age where it's so easy to get bogged down in comparison mode. So you're looking at social media and you're looking at a perfect little square, and you find yourself going through these moments of like, why don't I have her skin? Why don't I have her perfect hair? She has the perfect marriage. Like her job is so great. All of the things. So you just start going down the checklist, and I do it all the time. So I feel like that's why I'm equipped to talk about it, because it's something that I too am trying to combat in my faith walk and just in life in general. But the coolest thing about this particular topic is, or point in the topic, is that you were created so specifically, and myself too. Your looks, your talents, your strengths, your weaknesses, all of it, the good stuff and the ugly stuff. But you were so specifically created, and you have such a specific purpose in your time on this earth that I think it's just doing a dishonor to yourself and to the Lord to look at other people as though what they have is greater than what you have, because we were all envisioned so perfectly. And one of the things that I loved about my Bible study this week was they made a point about living in a state of living from acceptance and not living for it. And I think when we're living in comparison, it's because we are constantly striving to gain acceptance or approval from either our peers or people on social media or whoever it is that we're totally missing that we were already died for, that we're already called favored, that we're already called loved and worthy. And so I think it's such a cool concept to try to live from acceptance instead of for it, because I think it then gives you this natural confidence and you're walking all of a sudden in a completely different way. And so when I look in the mirror and I look at Haley and I think, I was created so specifically that I don't have to look at anyone else. And insecurity is such a real thing. It's totally real in my life and something that I'll talk a little bit more about later. But I think it's just a great reminder for all of us to stop and just remember that we are able to live in a state of already being called all of these wonderful things, favored, loved, accepted, and just cherished. And so I think liking yourself and learning to like yourself becomes a lot easier when you realize that you already have a God that died for you and he loved you so much that you're so worthy of not just anyone else's love or trying to strive to be likable to anybody else, but you've already achieved the highest and the one that matters the most. And so I think if you can walk in that, it makes self-love and self-like, as I call it, a lot easier to kind of work through and to master at the end of the day. Another thing that I kind of wanted to touch on as I was praying about this was taking the time to really write down things that you love and cherish about yourself. And this is not something that comes easily or instinctually, I think, all the time, because I think we shy away from pointing out our strengths because we don't want to come off like we are, overpraising ourselves. We don't want to come off like we're conceited or, all of the negative terms, whatever. But I think it's so vital to learning to love who you are, to sit down and point out the things that you're good at and the things that you excel in and the things that you do like about yourself. I know for me, like, I'll try it right now and exercise with you. Like, I love the fact that I know what is important in life. I get a great deal of satisfaction from my work and I love what I do so much, but the other things in my life, my friends, my family, love and relationships and all of those things that actually should come first, my faith walk, those things, they all take precedence over the things that don't really matter. So it's just taking something as simple as that and looking at something about yourself that you love and, write it down and make a list every once in a while and just go back to it when you're having a tough day. That's a little exercise that works for me. So I wanted to share a little bit about an exercise that we did at my study this week that I really loved and thought was so helpful and so relevant to this topic. The girls went around the room and we all had to kind of label ourselves something negative. And so, like, I'll share with you mine. Mine was unworthy. So I have a habit and a tendency of looking behind me and referencing all of the things I've done up until this point that were wrong. And I just have this huge fear in my life that when I get to the end of my life, God's going to have this laundry list of all of my mistakes, and he's going to be like, sorry, girlfriend, like, Haley Jane, you just made way too many mistakes, and you are not worthy of getting in these gates, sister. So anyway, I laugh about it, but that is a true fear of mine. And so I wrote on my sticky note, unworthy, and all of the girls did it, and then we had to go around the room and we had to cover up the girl next to us with a couple of really positive words and just sort of make a mental note to really reference those things. So I got worthy and loved. And so my sweet friend Mandy, who was the one that ended up giving me my words, she and I were talking after it, and we're just in this state of constantly reminding each other that, like, that really is the enemy that is telling you anything about yourself that's not what God has already called you. And so, my challenge to anybody that is struggling with this or is trying to find out a way to just like yourself and you're not even to the love stage yet, which I can relate to. I think that's just a normal walk that we all go through, and I think it comes in seasons. But I would really challenge you to write down and cover up any of those negative things that you are feeling about yourself, and just to let them go, because I think when you start to really love and adore the person that you are and that you're becoming, hence becoming me, that you really start to love the people around you even better. I find that when I'm more at peace internally and I'm in a good spot with myself, it really translates into my relationships with other people. It translates into my work. I just feel better in general when I'm in a good spot with me. Because let's be honest, you have to be with you all day, every day. So you might as well be in a good spot, because it's only going to help you love and encourage other people better. So my challenge to you would be to just sort of think about all of these points collectively, to just look in the mirror and realize that you've already been called all of these things. He paid a huge price, and it was a huge sacrifice, so that not that we could continuously fall back on that, because we do have a responsibility to walk in a certain way that we're all striving to do every day. And no one is perfect. And so I think holding yourself to a standard of grace instead of a standard of perfection is incredibly important, so that you can have that room to grow and change and be challenged throughout your life. But I just really want to stress and encourage you to live from acceptance instead of for it. I really think that it will be the difference in your faith walk as it relates to your relationship with yourself and to your relationships around you, your relationship with the Lord. But most importantly, for this topic specifically, it will really help you realize that you're already equipped, that you already have everything that you need, and that you can give yourself a little bit of grace when it comes to falling in love with yourself. You know, we fall in love with things every single day, and so it's really important to make you a part of that process. So I am so glad that Emily asked me to touch on this topic, and I hope that you have found this encouraging. I would love to connect or pray for any of you in any way that I can. And Emily, thank you again so much for letting me be a part of Becoming Me TV.